You have made me presenter, na, sir?
Yes, uh,
Why?
everybody is presenter, in fact.
Why is not showing? My God. I'm opening through Chrome. It's not coming. Window.
No, you
हाँ,
have to
it
share
is.
your entire screen.
हो गया हो गया हो गया आ गया अभी दिख रहा है? Can you see?
Yes, coming,
The
coming.
second also, second
Yeah,
slide. What
second
is
is
it?
also coming. You can make it full screen mode,
I
maybe
will do it.
possible.
I will do it. I will do it. Now it's
Yeah,
coming.
go to the, yeah, working, perfect.
Coming now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, coming. Go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah, thank you.
So welcome everybody. We are going to have this session, which is mental and emotional growth. And today's time, life has been becoming very busy. People are just getting more and more busy every day. And the problem is that we don't have much time to think what is happening with our emotions, our mind. And there's a great need to slow down the speed of our mind, to take a break and think what is happening with me. Because as we know the need of IQ, intelligent quotient, it's so important, especially people who are attending this seminar or say the talk, already very intellectual kind of people. But life has more than IQ. In real life, we need more of EQ, that's called emotional quotient. And if our emotional quotient is not very strong, then it will be very difficult to function in this world as a team member, whether at a family or in the office, wherever, whichever profession you are in. So we need IQ, we need EQ, we need PQ, physical quotient, our health, physical health also need to be very nice. And body and mind are very much connected. If mind is not taken care, then a lot of mental issues cause a lot of physical health issues also. And the fourth thing is SQ, that is called a spiritual quotient, and that is about having more fulfillment and satisfaction in life. So what I'm trying to say is that in this presentation, we are going to focus on not all four of them. Basically, that's not possible. Even one of them is require a lot of time and attention. But the idea is that to create more awareness about the nature of our mind, about many emotional issues which are suppressing us, which are not allowing us to express ourselves completely and go ahead in life, and also many things which are like because of which we are wasting our energy. There are many mental thoughts and worries and anxieties. So we will be focusing on these few points in next 1 hour, 1.5 hour. And also in the end or in the middle, I will ask you to share some things from you or ask some questions. So to begin with, let's begin with this point. What is limiting us? Because many of us, we feel that something is stopping us to going ahead in life. Like it's written here, some behaviors or thought patterns which hold you back and prevent you from doing what you want to do. This is what you're limiting you. Because some people have this thought process of, I'm not good enough, I'm not complete, or nobody loves me, or I cannot do public speaking, or I cannot connect with people, I cannot take risk, whatever. So many thought patterns and behaviors, they don't allow us to take some risk, or they don't allow us to go ahead in life. So this happens because of conditionings. Here two examples I have given. One is eagle egg among chickens, and the second is elephant tied to a pole. So these conditionings are very powerful. Like this, once eagle's egg fell among chickens, and when it fell among chickens, it was hatched by chickens. It started growing with chickens, and because it started growing with chickens, it started behaving like chickens, it started walking like chickens, it started eating like chickens. And she could not fly high in the sky because no other chicken was flying high in the sky. And one day one person came and he saw this odd thing happening there. He took this poor eagle out of that chicken's herd, and tried to throw her into the sky. But she came down again because she was conditioned. She has assumed that I cannot fly high. And then he took this eagle to the cliff of the mountain. It started showing the sky, started showing other eagles are flying, and then threw her into the sky. And now eagle had no other option than to just take her wings out and endeavor to the limits, and then she could fly. This is what happens in our life because we start to believe in our own strengths based on our surroundings, based on our culture, based on our upbringing. And until the point we meet somebody who really understand what is our true potential and helps us to grow. So being teachers and professors, we have to play that role, that not only we have to find what our true potential is, we also need to help others to find their potential. And second thing is that unless a helpless situation comes, we don't push ourselves to the limits. Second example given here is elephant tied to a pole. When the elephant is very small, like baby elephant, it's tied to a pole with a rope. And gradually, elephant starts to grow. Naturally, it will grow in size, in weight, in strength. But you know one thing? Though elephant is growing in size and weight and strength, the length of the rope, the thickness of the rope, and the strength of the rope remains same. An elephant keep thinking that I cannot break this rope because at one particular point of time in my life, I could not break this rope, so I cannot break this rope now also. This is called conditioning. And these conditionings, these behaviors, these thought patterns, they blocks us to go ahead in life. They blocks us to take risk. They block us to jump high in the sky. So there are different reasons for limiting ourselves, and some of the reasons are given here. The first one written here is patterns learned in childhood. Patterns learned in childhood. In our childhood, we all have different kind of parents, different kind of families, different kind of surroundings. The way our father has related with us, the way our mother is related with us, siblings have related with us, or the many other uncles and aunts. And so we develop many patterns. Like if one child is born in a family where very powerful authoritative figure has been there, child may develop some different paradigms and perceptions about a person who try to show authority. May develop fear or anger towards the authoritative figures, or may himself or herself want to be a big powerful authority, because the person start considering that without having a powerful authority in my life, unless I become an authoritative person, I cannot be successful. Somebody is born in a family where money is given all the importance, and this person may start believing that money is everything in life. Or another person who is born in a family which is very intellectual, very philosophical, very spiritual, that person may develop those values. Or somebody is born in a family of a big businessman. The person has learned to take risk from childhood. So these patterns, they blocks us actually. It's not that nobody can break these patterns. Unless we break these patterns, we cannot actually do something bigger than what our surrounding allow us to do that. So first step, when you want to grow emotionally and mentally, you need to start observing your patterns, my dear friends. Unless we observe our patterns, we will not be able to deal with them. Another thing which limits us is past relationship dynamics. What happens many times, we have been into some relationships, like relationships mean not just boy and girl, relationship also mean father and son, mother and son, brother and sister. And in these relationships, we may tend to lose our identity because we are too insecure, because we want to please another person. And in the process of pleasing another person, we may not be able to express what we exactly need in our life, what we actually want in our life, what we want to do in our life. And those relationships, they may have affected us, that we may have forgotten to even understand what exactly I need in my life. and we may have difficulty in expressing our needs to other people. So this is what limits us. Fear of failure. Some people, when they fail in their life, either during their academics or in the relationships or whichever part of their life, they may not get the lot of support system from their friends or relatives or parents, and then they develop fear. What is the fear? That I should not fail again. Because many times when we fail, we have been criticized, we have been ridiculed by other people. So that again becomes a part of our personality, that we have too much fear to do something new in life. We need support, and that limits us again. And some people want too much control, they are in the mood of over controlling, a need for control, or that there need to be a balance in control. But if you are looking for too much of control, or another extreme is that like you have no control over your life, then that also limits us. So we need to actually have a balance, uh, not too much control and not too little control. At least you should have that much control over yourself, that you set your boundaries, what you want to do, and what your needs are. You make it very clear to other people so they don't take you for granted. So these are the things which limits you. And what do we do when we limit ourselves? The behavior become much more worse gradually. I mean, it start affecting it every aspect. When you suppress your emotions, when you don't deal with your needs, you start blaming others when things go wrong. We stop taking responsibility. We stop taking responsibility of our own decisions, our own mistakes. We are too fearful. We lose confidence in ourselves. And we just look for some situation, some person to blame. And if nobody else there to blame, we start blaming God, we start blaming countries, we start blaming some politician. Because of him this is happening, because of that this is happening. But when we play this game of blame, we don't gain anything in life, because we don't grow. We grow only when we take responsibility. Even if there is a mistake from other side, even if we are not involved in that particular thing, still we need to learn to take responsibility, because we allowed that person to continue with that particular thing. And when we take responsibility, then only we will put some endeavor, even the responsibility of not giving that task to that person again, that is also a responsibility. So we cannot just shirk away the things and go away. But when we limit ourselves, we start blaming, because we don't have that much courage and confidence to just say, yes, yeah, I did it, or because of my presence it happened. It requires guts to say, yeah, it was me because of whom things went wrong. This story I heard from one of my friend. I just want to share with you. I have not read personally, but it has a great meaning. It is from ISRO actually. And once Mr. Kalam, our honorary president, ex-president, when he was in ISRO, he launched a project actually. And it was a very expensive project, and it failed. So when it failed, they had to do a press conference, and they had to tell the people that what went wrong. So his boss, they say Mr. Dhawan, he came and he said, okay, call the conference and I will address the conference. Oh, sorry, the press report, what do you call them? Journalist, So they called the journalist, and he came in the front and he said, it was me, because of this thing failed. Although he just gave the permission, under his guidance, under his observation, things were happening. But the main person in charge for the project was Mr. Kalam. And next time, same thing happened actually. Same project was launched in a different way. And this time it succeeded. And when this time it succeeded, and that time the press conference was called, that time Mr. Dhawan came again in the front and he started giving all the credits to Mr. Kalam. This is called leadership. That when things go wrong, you take the responsibility. When things go great, you start giving the credit to your subordinates, so that they start growing more in their life, because in their growth, your growth is there. But when we start limiting ourselves, We don't see this bigger picture because we are too scared. Instead, we choose to walk away when things don't go smoothly. Anything goes wrong, we just trying to just run away from the situation. Job is not doing nicely, you resign. Relationship is not working, you go for breakup or divorce. Life doesn't go like that. You have to pursue, you have to persist, to push yourself. Another thing which may happen, procrastination. People start procrastinating. They start postponing the things. They don't want to do things immediately because they don't have confidence. Again, they have so many thought patterns and belief systems which are blocking them, which are holding them. So they say, okay, I will do this after 1 week, I will do it next year, I will do it like later on. If they want to do some course, if they want to learn some new skill, if they want to resign and go for something else, they just keep procrastinating. Or they want to shift the career from one career to another career, or they want to start something on their own, just procrastinating. Okay, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. What else happens when you limit yourself? Picking fights with friends or partners for every small thing, because you're not able to understand yourself. How will you understand others? So naturally you will have fights. Trouble is stating your needs, because you just can't say this is what I want, because you just don't connect with yourself. You're living in a different kind of world, which is a world of illusion. The certain kind of thought pattern and belief system has taken over you. And the worst thing which you can do to you, putting yourself down. I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not beautiful, I'm not handsome, I'm not lovable. And life becomes miserable. In spite of having good job, good salary, nice house, nice family, person doesn't feel that happiness at the emotional level, which is so important. And why it happens? It's all the play of game of mind. We need to understand the nature of mind if we want to deal with these issues. First, understand that how mind function, what kind of tricks mind play. We call mind as a monkey mind. What do you mean by monkey mind? Monkey mind is a mind which keep on jumping from one branch to another branch, from one tree to another tree, from one lady to another lady. That's how our mind does. Also, if it is not tamed, if it is not controlled, if it is not given the right direction, it just keep on jumping. Hmm? From one person to another person, from one job to another job, from one gadget to another gadget, from one thought to another thought. We go to mall, and after a lot of hard work, we choose a dress, and with a lot of love and affection we buy the dress and come home, and after a few days mind starts saying, I don't like it. Come on, you were liking it, this dress, so much that day, and now you say you don't like it. That's how mind is when it is not controlled properly. Child, mind is like a child, sometimes very obstinate. Obstinate mind is, once it decides something, it just want to have it at any cost. I want it, I want it, I want it. Keep on nagging, keep on nagging. There is a constant chattering goes on in our mind if we don't learn to ignore the mind. So what I'm saying, I'm suggesting a very important tip or trick to deal with your mind is, sometime, my dear friends, you have to just learn to ignore your mind. Just imagine you are staying with a roommate in the hostel, and the roommate is quite noisy, and it freaks out for every small thing, and really painful to stay with that person. But somehow you're stuck for a few months, you can't change your room, you can't run away somewhere, you're stuck with that roommate. It happens sometime actually with the students in the hostels. Now what you will do? The best thing sometime to just come out of the room and go for a walk. Just be with you, just don't be around with that person. We have to learn to see our mind as a third party. Don't call your mind as my mind, call it the mind, because you and your mind are different. Start looking your mind as a separate entity and see how that mind is doing drama, trauma, different kind of play is playing. Because that's what mind does. Ignore the mind, because mind has a nature of accepting and rejecting. The same thing it will like and same thing it will not like after some time. And mind is very strong, my dear friends. It's a very powerful energy, very, very powerful energy. And if you don't train it, tame it nicely, it will destroy you. And if you train it, tame it nicely, it will uplift you and take you to the new heights of your life. Another thing about mind is it has ability to absorb, like a sponge. A sponge can absorb red color, blue color, whichever color, it will absorb that color. Similarly, mind, whichever kind of energy you will expose the mind to, mind will absorb that kind of energy. If you expose your mind too much to negative energy, then mind will absorb negative energy. If you expose your mind to the positive energy, it will absorb positive energy. So you need to be careful that what kind of people you are associating with. You need to be careful what kind of vibrations you are taking inside. Because when I was talking about understanding your thought patterns and belief system, you also need to be careful you don't create new thought patterns and belief systems which are destructive. And by exposing yourself to this news which filled with negativity, the people who are filled with negativity, the novels which are filled with negativity, you will be absorbing that, and it may happen that we develop another kind of thought patterns or belief system which will not allow us to grow emotionally. So be careful about that, my dear friends. Another thing about mind is like a bird with two wings. Two wings means these wings are wings of present and past. Mind either in the past or in the future, not in the present. Sorry, these two wings are not present and past, future and past. Mind is either crying about past or worrying about future. Hardly we are living in the present. And when we are in the past or future, that's a miserable state of mind, miserable state of situation. The mind is constantly conversing with itself, replaying past events, rearranging them into a better drama. Haven't you experienced that your mind goes into the past and keep thinking about some particular incident which happened like say 7 years back, and you're just remembering it and becoming more miserable, thinking that my sister told me like this, or my boss did like this to me. And the more you think about it, more you make your life miserable. So there is no point going back into the past and keep thinking about your past. Or sometimes people plan for the future. So planning for the future is wonderful because we need to plan because future is going to come. Once in a week, once in a day, once in a year, once in a month, we need to plan. But not that we are planning all the time and worrying every moment what is going to happen, what is going to happen. That's not the right way. There is no need to do that. Planning every moment. It just will create more anxiety. So that's why first step, as I told you, you need to observe your patterns and thought patterns and belief system. Similarly, you need to observe what your mind is doing. How much time it is going, my mind is going into the past, how much time it is going into the future. And whenever it is going into the past or the future, try to bring it back. Bring it back. That is a practice. That is a practice you have to do. Like small children when they're running, when you're going into the street with them, and sometimes they just want to run. All the traffic is there, and the bus is coming, and the car is coming. You have to constantly keep on bringing him back. They want to snatch away from they want to just leave your hand and run to this direction or that direction. Similarly, mind wants to run this direction or that direction, but you should not allow the mind to go here and there, and bring it back to the present, because present is the reality. And if you miss the present reality, then mind will become sick. Most of the people have sick mind. What do you mean by sick mind? Sick mind means just doing things which are not healthy, doing things which will create more misery, doing things which will not create positive emotions. And unless you have positive emotions, you cannot have emotional health. Having negative emotions are like having too many viruses in your body, or having too many viruses in your mind. So we need to learn the art of removing the negative emotions, or say dealing with the negative emotions, or not allowing the negative emotions to become unhealthy negative emotions, and filling our mind and personality with a lot of positive emotions. But for that, you need to understand the connection between body and mind. Here is this picture I am showing you. The picture is with 5 horses, a chariot is there, and a driver and a passenger. And these 5 horses are compared to our 5 senses. Reins are compared to the mind. Intelligence is compared to the skinny driver. And the soul, the real person who is sitting inside our body, is the passenger. So just imagine a situation where these 5 horses are too powerful, but the driver is very weak and unable to control the 5 horses. So what happens to the passenger? Horses are going in all the directions, driver is unable to control them, chariot is just jumping around here and there, passenger will be in trouble. The same thing happens with us. Our body has 5 senses which are compared to these 5 horses. Our eyes, nose, tongue, skin, and ears. They are pulling us in all 5 directions. Tongue is demanding something, eyes are demanding something else, skin is demanding the touch of opposite sex, and ears are demanding some nice sweet words, nose want to smell something wonderful, and intelligence is very weak, unable to understand, what to do, what not to do, what is good for me, what is not good for me, what is good for my emotional growth, what is good for my spiritual growth, what is good for my stability, and passenger is suffering. So there is a connection between body and mind. When you expose your senses too much to too many kind of objects, then mind keep on absorbing that, as I told you before. Mind is like a hard disk. Tons of, like it's like a tons of data is there. Like say maybe millions of gigabyte, you can say, or trillions of gigabyte, unlimited capacity. And the senses are like data entry points. So data entry points are 5 in our body: our eyes, our nose, our tongue, our skin, and our ears. And all these data entry point, lot of data is going, lot of experiences are going. That's why we call them knowledge acquiring senses. And all these experiences are stored in our mind. And that's why mind has all the suppressed emotions, all the memories. And if intelligence is not very strong to discriminate what is right and what is wrong, minds take over our personality. And when sick mind takes over our personality, we become emotionally sick. So what happens actually when you don't have very sharp intellect? You see something like, let's say here is written a thinking stage. When your senses look at some object, then that particular data goes into your mind and you start contemplating on it. And by contemplating the objects of the senses, positively or negatively, one develops attachment for them. Like say you see an ad on TV, and that ad you see again and again and again on TV and mobile. On the road also they have put the billboard and the small boards. Everywhere you see that particular thing. And when you keep seeing that particular thing, you may start thinking about it, whether it is, what it is. And then there's a feeling. You may start connecting your emotions with them, because most of the ads, you will see they try to touch your emotions. Mm. They try to touch your emotions. If you watch the ads carefully, that's how they are designed. And once they touch your emotion, they start developing attachment for them. But it's not about ads, it's about anything in life, anything which you keep on thinking and keep on thinking, they may develop attachment for it. And when you develop attachment for it, you want to have that particular thing with you. And that's called obsession, the lust part, willingness to have it. And when you don't have it, because of some reasons, because everything we don't get in life we want, which we want to have, then you develop anger, the frustration. And this anger leads to delusion, and delusion leads to bewilderment of memory, and then loss of intelligence, and the person falls down to gross material existence. not able to understand what is happening with that person. So if you see in this chart, if you want to stop this cycle of fall down, then you have to stop at the thought level. You have to stop the thought level. But the problem, what happens when the people have sick mind keep on taking over the intelligence. So we are not able to uh, take it out at the root level, at the thought process, and we just become the scapegoat, be slaughtered in the cycle of desires, and people just don't have that stability and clarity. And then worst thing what can happen is when people have sick mind, they develop these three cancers of mind. What are these three cancers of mind? First one is complaining. The complaining is okay when somebody has promised you a particular kind of service, and that person doesn't offer you that service even after getting paid. Like you go to a restaurant and you order for some food, and they brought you food which was not anywhere close to what they have told you. You have a right to complain. But there are some people who complain for every small thing. I don't know whether you know about them. Everything, like about weather, about people, about food, about family, about office, about politics, about everything. They're just, the moment they open their mouth, the only thing which comes out of their mouth is complain. Complaining, complaining, complaining. There's no gratitude for anything at all. What a negative, heavy energy. Second thing is comparing. Now some people, they get stuck into the trap of comparing with others. And when you compare with others, you may start feeling jealous, and you may also start feeling low, because you feel, oh, I don't have that much, I don't have that particular thing, this particular thing. This is again a cancer of mind. It doesn't allow you to be happy. But the point is, when you're meeting somebody who is more qualified than you, instead of becoming sad or jealous, we can become happy, because now here is an opportunity to learn something from this person. Or if not possible to learn, you can take inspiration from that person, and this inspiration will help you to grow in life. But people keep comparing and keep feeling low. Even parents, they keep comparing their children to other children, and they make them realize that you are not good enough. And these thought patterns, belief system, which we grow in our childhood, which have been implanted in us by others, you are not good enough, they grow very big tree. When we become adult, when we become even parents and grandparents, we still feel, I'm not good enough. You have to deal with these issues. And the third is criticizing. Worst cancer, worst cancer. That people feel so low that they feel by criticizing others, they will feel better. Because if you bring somebody else's position down, that automatically it will bring my position up. But actually, it's not the fact of the life. To grow in life, to go really wonderful in life, you have to work on yourself. Not wasting your time in bitching and gossiping and backbiting. But people do that. And they keep on developing the negativity by talking and by listening to all the criticism they do with about others. Instead of criticizing, if people learn to appreciate, if we can just learn to appreciate at least one wonderful things about people who are around us, then that positive energy will replace this cancerous disease of our mind with wonderful emotional health. And what is that wonderful emotional health? That wonderful emotional health is that we start loving ourselves, we start accepting ourselves, we start expressing ourselves, we start connecting with ourselves. And that's the thing which we are looking for, that's the thing which we are expecting to, what you say. So anybody want to say anything before I go further? Because sometime in between I ask people if they want to express something or ask something, otherwise I'll continue. I'll wait for like 30 seconds. otherwise, because it's a very interactive kind of topic and very practical kind of things. Sometimes it helps to just ask and
Yes, participants, if you want to say something, you can unmute and directly say.
ask also, share also, whatever
You
we have
can
discussed till
either
now.
drop a message in the chat box or you can unmute and speak to the speaker.
Why human people complaining? This is a question. Okay. Why people complain? Yes. People complain because they are not grateful, frankly speaking. See, complain are because of many reasons. It's not only one reason, but whatever comes to my mind, I'll share with you. As I told in the presentation also, sometime when we were expecting something and we're not getting that, we complain. But also we need to realize in our daily life, in our day-to-day practical life, that it's not that whatever we expect we are going to get exactly. So we need to also learn to accept and be grateful what we are getting. Because if we are complaining for every each and every small thing, then there is no end to complain. So people complain according to my understanding because they are not grateful what they have. Like say, even if people are very rich, I have seen many business people, they keep cribbing and complaining, oh, धंधा नहीं चल रहा है, business नहीं हो रहा है. Like I come from a business family, my parents and my grandparents and my uncles, everybody into business, but I'm not into business. But I see what they talk, how they talk. They keep complaining, cribbing, oh, कुछ धंधा नहीं हो रहा है, कुछ business नहीं हो रहा है, we didn't earn anything. So that's how people keep complaining because they're not grateful. The people who are in the job, they keep complaining too much work and not much salary and not much promotion. There's no point all the time complaining. If you are not satisfied, then you should take some action. If some people say business nahi chal raha hai, then you try some other business. Then why are you saying that why not changing the particular situation? So complaining doesn't help. People are complaining because they're not grateful. That's what I can answer. And people also complain when they don't get what they are expecting. So then you have to express your need, that what you want to have from that person. Just by sitting at one place and saying that I'm not getting this particular thing, it will not solve the problem. And also see whether you're getting what you were expecting, and if you're not getting, then how much you're getting, and be grateful for that. So anyway, let's come back to the discussion. Watch your thoughts. That is the first thing which you need to do. If you really want to work on your mental and emotional growth, learn to watch your thoughts. If thoughts are positive, then and necessary, then entertain them, nourish them, remember them. And if thoughts are negative, waste, then waste thoughts have to go into the dustbin, into the alt control delete button. Don't entertain them, because these negative thoughts only will suck your energy, will not allow you to go ahead in life. Now, this is a very important principle which I really like to share in my presentations. This is from a book called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And this concept is so beautiful and so easy. Once you start observing your thoughts, once you start catching your thoughts, then you may realize there are certain thoughts which are falls in the category of circle of concern, and there are certain thoughts which falls in the category of circle of influence. So which are the thoughts which falls in the category of circle of concern? Circle of concern is things that bother you but can't do anything about. And circle of influence is things you can do something about. Now there are many things in life which we bother, which we are very much bother. Like say Kuntal Teka sir is in Goa, IIT Goa, and he's too much worried about a medical college in UP, Uttar Pradesh. Does it make any sense? First of all, he's into engineering. Another thing, he's in Goa. Third thing is like it's too far, no influence, and worrying too much about a particular college in UP somewhere, maybe in Aligarh. Doesn't make any sense. Circle of influence. What is circle of influence? Things you can do something about. Things you can do something about means where you have some influence. Like say, if I have a family, and in that family I have some influence, so I need to worry about that, and I need to worry about bring some change there. I need to worry about uplifting that particular situation of that family which I belong to. So that's called influence, because when you start working in your circle of influence, like if somebody is teaching in a particular college and he is very much working hard in his own department, then that person influence will grow gradually, and he will be noticed by other professors and the principal of the college and the management of the college. Then it is quite possible that person influence will increase and grow, and it may take over the circle of concern also. That person may become so famous that he is being called in many colleges to give just talk to inspire people. So what I'm trying to say, if I'm sitting in a small town in Uttarakhand, Rishikesh, and I'm so concerned about Taiwan and Afghanistan, it doesn't make much difference in my life or other people's life. Although I need to be aware of what is happening around the world, that's a totally different thing. But wasting too much of time and energy about people and situation where we don't have much influence, it's just a waste of time. And many times people just keep doing that. They keep talking about people and situation and surroundings. It's just a completely totally waste of time, and it disturbs your mental state. So please try to learn to live in the circle of influence instead of uh, just wasting your energy for circle of concern. Second thing which you need to do is you need to understand the difference between instinct versus choice. Animals, most of the time, they act by instinct. Most of the animals, they don't have too much freedom to choose, too much free will to choose, because somehow they have been designed like that by the nature. The intellect part, the free will part, the freedom to choose part, more is given to the human beings. If you keep food, a particular kind of food, like say some halwa or jalebi or rasgulla on the street in a box, open lid, then an animal will come and will eat it, will not think too much whether इसमें जहर तो नहीं मिलाया किसी ने. It just eat it. But human being, even if they're hungry, they will think 10 times before eating. किसने रख के गया, क्यों रख के गया, जहर तो नहीं मिला दिया है, whether poison is there inside or not. And even if person is feeling hungry, person can control his urge or her urge. That's called freedom to choose, free will. So between every action and response, we have freedom to choose, we have free will. And how we do it, freedom to choose and free will? By exercising, by practicing, by start observing our mind, that how it's reacting, by feeding our intelligence, and then taking it time to react before there is a reactive behavior and there is a responsible behavior. This is the point I'm trying to share with you today. Hmm. What is reactive behavior? Reactive behavior is there is a stimulus and there is a response. You don't just think too much, you just react. Like people can predict your behavior, that if you press this button, that person will react like this. If you press that button, person will react like that. You can predict that when person will get really angry and upset and start shouting. That's a reactive behavior. But what is responsible behavior? That there is a stimulus, but my response depends on my choice. My response is not dependent on another person's choice. Another person shouting at me doesn't mean that I will become angry. I may not become angry. Another person is giving me some negative feedback doesn't mean that I'll become depressed. My response will depend on my choice. And this ability to choose your choice more wisely, it's called emotional health. It's called strong mind. And when we don't act according to our software programming, which have been done into our brain, into our mind since our childhood, then we start acting in a responsible way. There are many people, they're very word sensitive. There are few words, if you call them with those words, it just, they call triggering words, trigger हो जाते हैं वो लोग, and they go crazy. So it means they have given the control of remote control of their life into the hand of people who can use those words and make them emotionally weak and then control them and emotionally blackmail them. So we should not allow anybody to hurt us emotionally, because nobody can do emotional hurt if we are taking responsibility of our choices, our emotions. Once Gautam Buddha was giving a talk, and one person came and started shouting and giving some abusive words to him. After shouting and yelling, when he realized that nothing is happening to Gautam Buddha, he is not reacting at all, he asked him, "What kind of person you are? I'm giving you so many bad words and you're not reacting." Gautam Buddha said, "My dear friend, you're giving to me something, but I'm not receiving it, I'm not taking it. And when I'm not taking it, if you're giving me something, it belongs to you. I don't take your words seriously." So we don't have to take people's words seriously unless they are our well-wisher, unless they have good intention, unless they have the qualification. If somebody is in the computer science department and comes to me, who is a like doctor or say some other field, I can't take that person word seriously unless that person is from the same area. If I come to Goa and say this IIT Goa is bogus, what right I have to say that? So why should we take people's words so seriously? This is only about, not just about words, it's about making your choices to have a responsible behavior. So accept responsibility if you want to grow emotionally and mentally. I'm responsible for who I am, for what I have, for what I do. This is the attitude we need to develop, my dear friends. Stop blaming others, stop criticizing others, stop comparing with others. What we are right now, we are because of our decisions. Now you may say, no, my parents decided for me. That may be possible in the childhood because we were dependent in some situations. But ever since you have given the, you develop your logical intelligence, you're given the freedom, you can't blame anybody. And even parents, they did their best within their capacity. Can't blame them. They did their best, whatever they could do for their children. Attitude changes happen personally from the inside out. So when we work internal environment, then external environment will change. So you have to work your attitude. Changes come from observing logically in every situation. This is what I have been telling since the beginning of my presentation, that the moment you feel that I need to bring some change at emotional level, at mental level, you have to first start observing that how your mind is reacting and behaving in different situations. Try to understand your thought process, try to understand your belief system, try to understand your behavioral patterns. All attitude. You may think in the morning, this is going to be a wonderful day, it's going to be a wonderful day. This is going to be a crappy day, it is going to be a crappy day. Because there is a beautiful saying which says, pain is inevitable, but misery is optional. Even if we have a pain somewhere in the body, we can still be not choose not to be miserable. We can still find some ways to distract our mind, to do some wonderful things. And there are many wonderful spiritually elevated people. If you read their lives, you will find that even in the stage of cancer, they're smiling and they're giving hope to people. If we can't do at least to that extreme level, we can begin with something small. So manage your self-talk. Manage your self-talk means how we talk to ourselves, because our mind is constantly talking to ourselves. Our mind is constantly either cribbing or appreciating, either complaining or grateful, either criticizing or appreciating, either comparing or getting inspired or inspiring others. So manage your self-talk, observe your self-talk, how you are talking to yourself within your mind. Each one of us is talking to ourselves. Some people are constantly telling to themselves, I'm not happy, I'm miserable, I'm not good enough. Please shift that. Choose to respond. Respond, not react, which I already explained to you. Like there can be a negative environment. A negative environment means all these things which you see here: too much work, not enough help, deadlines are unrealistic, longer hours, additional work, budget constraint, competition is eating us alive, poor management. So many things people keep talking. So no doubt there is a negative environment, but what we need to do? We need to grow from the useless mental battles. And what are the useless mental battles? Useless mental battles are when your mind keep thinking about things with, let's see what's written here, better to read. By methodically slowing down continuous ramblings, the internal dialogue of mind. My dear friends, I'm sure if you have observed the dialogue of your mind is continuously going on, and there's a continuous rambling goes on many times. As I was explaining you, mind is like a bird having two wings, either going in the past or going in the future. There is a constant internal dialogue goes on, and we waste so much of our mental energy in that particular activity. It's called fighting useless mental battles, because there is no point thinking about past because it is gone. We can learn some lessons from past, definitely, not to repeat the same mistake again, otherwise the history will be repeated again and again and again. But we don't have to remember the details of those particular incidents and keep on cursing ourselves and cursing others. We can just learn something and move on. And similar kind of useless mental battles we do about future. Most of the things we don't even know is going to happen. We keep on worrying about them. We need to plan. I'm again not denying we don't have to. We need to plan. We also need to plan for obstacles. We also need to plan if something goes wrong. But we don't have to keep worrying about it. What if this happened? What if that happens? It's like a person is gone a phobia of future. So this kind of internal dialogue, you have to learn to slow down. And how you learn to slow down? By learning to sit and just observe your breath, observe your mind, and gradually bring down calmly. We'll try to practice 5 minutes of that after this slide, possible. And then focusing on positive and uplifting objects. The first thing, you have to slow down your mind, and second thing, you have to focus on positive and uplifting objects. What are the positive and uplifting objects? Positive and uplifting objects can be so many. Just being with nature. It's called forest bathing. Forest bathing means spending some time with plants and trees, just taking a walk in the park, in the garden. If nothing like that is there, you're living in a big city, have some plants and spend some time with them. Positive uplifting objects are like ocean, river, mountains, a place of silence, a place of spirituality like temple or mosque or church, or place where a lot of wonderful positive emotions are going on. Positive uplifting object is a book full of positivity, a talk full of uplifting, motivating words, clarity. Positive and uplifting objects are like people who are living that kind of life, and just by being around them, you feel like uplifted in your consciousness. You need to do that, my dear friends. And when you do that, it's like you're sitting in the plane. And when you sit in the plane and your plane is flying high in the sky, from the airport, these big, big buildings, this big, big skyscraper building of a city will appear like a matchbox. Means the problems of your life, they will appear very small. They will appear very trivial because you will learn to fly high in the sky. So we need to grow emotionally. We need to grow mentally by doing this particular thing, and replace the bad habits with the smile. Sprinkle positive on the negative. Focus on the good of each day. Say please and thank you. Practice empathy. What is empathy? Empathy means try to understand other people's emotions and try to feel what others are feeling. Then you will be able to connect with them much better way. And when you connect with people at emotional level, then we also grow emotionally, because in giving you receive. Evaluate your behavior and never miss an opportunity to compliment. We have a habit to catch people when they do things wrong. Instead of catching people when they do things wrong, we should learn to catch people when they do things right, and never miss an opportunity to compliment them. Because when you will compliment them, the whole energy will be uplifted. And when other people emotions are uplifted, our emotions are automatically uplifted. This is a very simple thing which we can do. We can just keep complimenting people around us, and the whole atmosphere will be filled with positive energy. So this is another thing which I'll discuss after a few minutes of now. This is the time I want to share with you, because I was talking about a very important topic, stopping the rambling of the mind. There is an internal dialogue which goes on. Continuous mind is going in the past or future. And then I suggested all of you to bring your mind into the present. So for that, I want you to practice a very simple kind of mindful breathing exercise, or you can say mindful breathing meditation. And if you do that, anytime your mind is very active or agitated, it will be very easy for you to bring your mind back to the present. So wherever you are, I request you to sit with your back straight. If possible, you can put your video on. I can see you. If not, if you feel shy or if you're doing something else, I don't know. You can just be wherever you are, whether in the office or in the home or in the car or sitting in the park. Just sit with your back straight. We'll do just 3 to 5 minutes, a very simple exercise of mindful breathing, and it will help you to bring yourself into the present. Whenever you feel your mind is just like a running at the speed of 1,000 miles per hour, like a headless chicken jumping around, freaking out, just sit with your back straight, close your eyes, relax your shoulders, relax your neck, connect with your breath. Just start observing your breath. Your breath is going in and coming out. The only thing which you are going to do is observing your breath, nothing else. We are not doing anything. We are just learning to observe our breath. Because breath is the reality. This present moment is the reality. Keep your eyes closed and observe your breath. Keep your back straight. Keep your hands on your knees if possible. That will help you to keep your back straight. Why we keep our back straight? Because the spiritual kundalini energy, which is lying at the root of our body, which is cervix or perineum based on your gender, start rising through our spinal cord when we do meditation. So keep your back straight and now continue to observe your breath. Your breath is going in and coming out. Now next time when you inhale, inhale little more deeply, so that your diaphragm pushes your belly out and your lungs are completely filled with air. Deep inhalation, and then you exhale very slowly and completely. And then you exhale very slowly and completely. Exhale completely and slowly. Continue to do this kind of breaths at least 5 times. When you inhale deeply, inhale at the count of 4, like in 4 seconds, and exhale 6 to 8 seconds. Complete observation of the breath. Your complete consciousness is on your breath, the movement of the breath. The breath is moving in and coming out. And as you're inhaling so deeply that your diaphragm is pushing your belly out. And when you're exhaling completely and very slowly. Bring your awareness to the inner walls of your nostrils and make your breath more deeper and subtler. Take your awareness to the inner walls of your nostrils and make your breath more deeper and subtler. Now bring your awareness to the forehead and relax your forehead. Relax your eyebrows. Relax your eyes. Relax your cheeks. Relax your lips. Relax your jaw. Relax your tongue. Relax your all the facial muscles. And next time when you inhale, imagine that the breath you are taking in is energizing every cell of your body and refreshing you completely. And exhale. And while exhaling, imagine that you're exhaling all the suppressed emotions and anxieties and worries. So during inhalation, inhale as if you're energizing every cell of your body. And during exhalation, exhale all kind of suppressed emotions, tensions, worries out of your existence. If your mind is trying to jump either in the past or future, just bring it back to the present by bringing your awareness on the breath. Keep observing your breath. Gradually bring your awareness to your shoulders. Rotate your shoulders. Rotate your neck. Left to right, right to left. Take your palms together, rub them nicely. Create some heat out of your palms and cover your eyes with your palms. And open your eyes inside your palms, covering the eyes. And then take your palms down. So this is just a 5 to 6 minute kind of work which you did on yourself. And this you can do anywhere, any part of the day. When you say anywhere, any part of the day, it doesn't happen. But if you, it's called habit stacking. This is another beautiful concept when you want to trick with your mind. The habit stacking means you have a habit to eat 3 times a day, like lunchtime. So if you stack one more habit above this habit, Like say before lunch 5 minutes you can do this, or after lunch you can do this, or before coming to, like after coming to office and before starting your computer you can do it, like any kind, or before going to sleep you can do it. So that's how you can do habit stacking, and just 5 minutes 3 times, it will help you a lot to bring your awareness to the present. And once you start developing the habit to bring your mind into the present, then throughout the day also, whenever mind will go here and there, you can bring your thoughts back to the present. Whenever mind will go into the mood of complaining, you will start catching yourself. Whenever your mind will go and you start speaking some bad words about others, you will stop yourself. So the whole process begins with developing more awareness. That's the idea. And you don't need any mentor or coach. You can be your own coach if you develop more awareness about yourself. So that's a little bit about that. I have some more things to share, but before that, again, I want to ask if anybody has anything to ask or share. I'll wait for 30 seconds and then I'll continue.
Yeah, Vivek sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're getting it. Thank you.
Hmm.
One practical question I want to ask you. Myself, Dr. N.K. Yadav speaking.
Hmm.
Uh,
From where you are speaking, sir? Which part of India?
Faridabad.
Faridabad. Okay, sir. Tell me.
The practical question is, as everybody knows, the education is commercial now.
Yes, it's commercial. Yeah.
Earlier, when we got the education, that time it was a teacher and student.
Yes.
So now that students are more complaining oriented
Yes.
globally, I am talking globally.
Hmm.
Maybe in India, we are, I mean, students are more the ethics, more value system from their parents. But if you go for the globally other countries abroad, here you will find that value system is not there.
True. Very true.
Yeah,
This I experience in Rishikesh when they come to learn from foreign.
correct. So the point is, teachers are more, you can say, face this type of that they used to complain about the teacher only, that teacher is the best person, but
Hmm.
teacher is the person by which they can take the leap or a ladder to build the future.
Because they are complaining, that's why they are not getting much also, na, sir. Because the teacher-student relationship is a relationship of not, you cannot buy knowledge, because you know, you as a teacher, you would like to give more when you feel like students are in the mood of receiving. Otherwise, you will just do the needful, you know, because you will teach because you also need some money to pay your bills. तो आप बस जाओगे क्लास में पढ़ा के आ जाओगे, लेकिन जो बच्चा आपसे आके मिलेगा, आपसे प्यार से बात करेगा, आपके काम, आपका जो एक्सरसाइज आपने उसे दी है करने को, होमवर्क जो भी है, तो देन यू विल हैव स्पेशल बेंट ऑफ माइंड टुवर्ड्स दैट स्टूडेंट. So there is a commercial relationship. I totally agree with you. At the same time, we can always look for some student who are in the mood of learning. Like even among Westerners you're talking about, I always find few people who are a little special. So that is the only solution which we can console to our heart, that nowadays, because education has become commercial, it's not so like anybody can buy it by giving money, but they cannot buy the wisdom. They can
So
buy the books.
just you gave that one circle where red is there and yellow where we can't do anything, that we have to
Yeah,
accept it.
yeah, yeah,
We
yeah,
have
yeah.
to accept it. That
Hmm.
the point is why human behavior is such kind of that complaining nature.
That is because person is not satisfied, sir. Because as materialism is increasing, people are losing satisfaction in life. Like say जो पहले जमाने में लोग they were happy with basic food and basic clothing and some spiritual nourishment. Nowadays, because of the gadgets and because the whole world has become globe, they are looking at each and every one. इस व्यक्ति ने ये पहना है, इस व्यक्ति ने ऐसा किया, ये व्यक्ति ऐसा. इंटरनेट पे इतने सारे लेक्चर भरे पड़े हैं, वो कंपेयर करने लगते हैं, अरे इससे अच्छा एजुकेशन तो यूट्यूब पे है, ये मेरा टीचर क्या पढ़ा रहा है. बट उसको ये पता नहीं है कि द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन टीचर एंड स्टूडेंट इज नॉट जस्ट नॉलेज ट्रांसफर, It's about a connection. When you connect with a teacher and he understands, he helps you to grow. That's what they're missing.
And my perception is that students does not wants to work hard. That is my perception.
That is
And they
also
want the good marks or great marks, but they don't want to hard work. And this is only the difference where the point is coming as a complaint. That is my judgment and
that's a beautiful point. That thank you very much for sharing it. And they want something very cheap. That's what you're trying to say, na? Not
Correct.
working hard means कोई आराम से चीज मिल जाए. Not working hard, but without working hard, you don't get much. And they
That's right.
complain. They think that teacher has to give me everything, but they don't want to do their part. That's what you're trying to say. So
Otherwise,
that's wonderful.
teacher-
That's
Anyway, good idea.
the rule of education is that both have to take responsibility. Recently I gave a talk in one college. It was about sacred relation between teacher and student. So there is a book called Seven Laws of Learner by William Wilkinson. He's an American guy. A beautiful book. It talks about as much as responsibility teacher has to teach, the same amount of responsibility a student has to learn. Now you say there is nothing new in this. The new thing in this is when teacher is teaching, teacher feels that all responsibility lies on me. That is from teacher mindset. But when a student is learning, student has to think that all responsibility lies on me to learn. But the problem is teacher I'm not saying will think, may think that a student has the responsibility to work hard and learn, and a student may think that my teacher has the responsibility to teach me. So these dynamics actually create problem.
Teachers are dedicated to commitments on their target or object or goal to transmit all the information or knowledge to the community as a student, but they are not able to grasp the things what for they have been made.
Yeah, because their mind is so distracted, they don't want to work hard, as you're rightly saying. There are too many things going on around. So it's very painful. I can understand your pain because I'm also a teacher only. Because teacher want to give so much and they are not ready to receive. It's very painful.
Because if teacher is not doing the judgment with the community, it means he is the more sinful. So he has to evaluate everything very precisely. Who is deserving, who is not deserving.
True. Very
Yeah.
true. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah. If somebody is not doing that kind of, it means it's the fault with the teacher. So teacher has to evaluate every point of the things.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. Let's begin. Let's complete my talk. This last 10 minutes.
Right.
So now this last part I want to share with you. I think some people like the 5 minutes meditation also. Thank you for that. Somebody has written on the chat. Now we want to learn shifting from negative to positive emotions. Now, first of all, you need to understand what these negative emotions are. And here's some negative emotions written: frustration, sadness, shame, fear, grief, guilt, sadness, depression, despair, envy, doubt, and jealousy. Here are few, but there are many more. And these negative emotions, they really bother us a lot. They really bother us a lot. And they don't allow us to go ahead in life. Like, say, frustration. Somebody is too attached to have something, and when that person doesn't get it, it leads to frustration. Somebody failed in something and then he start doubting his own abilities. So these emotions, we have to learn to deal with them if you really want to grow in life. And the problem with these negative emotions are that when a negative emotion come in our life, it start screaming at us. Screaming means it doesn't leave us, it just get stuck to us. Like, see, if I'm giving this talk and after giving this talk, like, one of the participant gave me a very heavy negative feedback, then there is a possibility that I may keep thinking about it and just keep cursing myself, keep feeling guilty, or keep start having doubts about my personality, about my skills. So that's not required, because there is a healthy negative emotion and there is an unhealthy negative emotion. So develop the awareness of a negative emotions. Are they healthy or unhealthy? Healthy negative emotions are an appropriate response to negative events. Like, say, if I give a talk and somebody gives me a feedback, the healthy negative emotion is that I may think about a room for improvement, and whatever that person has told me objectively, if that person has some sense, I try to improve that part of my presentation. Doesn't mean that I start going into the too much of negativity and start feeling that I'm not good enough to give a talk. Then it becomes unhealthy negative emotions. Healthy negative emotions let you know that something is wrong and they encourage you to make positive changes in your life. Like say if I feel frustrated after something, I don't have to feel frustrated. I may feel disappointed. That's what I'm going to share with you in the next slide. Unhealthy negative emotions have no beneficial side effects. They only create issues. Like say, do you feel much worse than the situation really calls for? That it means you are going from healthy negative emotion to unhealthy negative emotion. Do you feel depressed instead of sad, afraid instead of careful, enraged instead of annoyed, hurt instead of disappointed, ashamed instead of regretful? This is a very important concept, my dear friends. Please try to listen carefully. And this is one of the important part of my presentation which I want to share with you. Try to observe your reaction, try to observe your emotion when you are going into negativity. If we lose somebody who is very dear to us, there is no problem feeling sad. It's rather wonderful because that sadness will help you to take out all the heavy burden of emotions which you have inside. But you need to also understand intelligently the reality of this world. The reality of this world is people will come and go. This world is a world of temporary situations and surroundings. So there is no need to feel so depressed and feeling that that person would not have left you. It's quite possible. Anybody can die at any time. This is the harsh reality of this world. So by understanding the harsh realities of this world, you can save yourself not to fall into depression. So we need some intelligence to deal with this kind of issues. Another example written here is being careful but not being afraid. Hmm. Like if somebody tells me going to that particular part of my town is not very safe, so I need to be careful. But if some work is there, then I may have to go in the daytime by taking somebody with me. But I don't have to be so afraid that I say I will never go to that area, because that's not practical, because sometimes I may have to go in emergency, in some situation. Or say you have given some work to somebody and that person has not done it, then you can be annoyed with that person. That is like healthy negative emotion, because by being annoyed, you're expressing your dissatisfaction and you're telling that I'm not happy with you and you should do it nicely. But there's no point in going to another extreme, that is called being enraged, shouting and yelling and for days together. There's no point. It means you're falling into unhealthy negative emotion. One of your friend told you that in the evening I'll come and we'll go for a dinner. Somehow he could not come. You have a right to express your disappointment. You should express your disappointment to that person if you want to. But you don't have to feel so hurt and you carry that hurt for days together and weeks together and months together, and you tell him again and again that I felt hurt, and you start feeling bad about it. If you did something wrong in your life, you have a right to be regretful. It's good to be regretful so that we don't repeat the same mistake again. We try our best. But you don't have to feel ashamed and just stop doing the activities. Stop facing the people. It means you're hurting yourself. It's unhealthy negative emotion. So please, my dear friends, learn to discriminate between healthy negative emotions and unhealthy negative emotions. And if you are drifting towards unhealthy negative emotion situation, then I would suggest you need help either from a friend or partner or a mentor or a spiritual coach who can help you to again bring back from those extreme unhealthy negative emotional stage. Just observe, do your feelings push you to do things that are unhealthy or that get you into trouble? For example, do you smoke, drink alcohol, or overeat? Do you procrastinate on important tasks? Get into unnecessary arguments with authority figures? Just observe these things. Do your feelings stop you from doing the things what you want to do? For example, do you avoid talking to people you would like to meet? So if you're drifting into this unhealthy negative emotional stage, then I mean, this is a high time that you start taking some precautions, and then learn to appreciate positive emotions. What are the positive emotions? The opposite to negative emotions which scream at us, positive emotion whisper. What do you mean by whisper? Whisper means like if you are feeling happy, grateful, kind, joyful, we don't relish those emotions for longer period of time. They whisper and go away. In fact, we don't choose to be joyful, because many times people say, oh, life is, is a serious business, you should not enjoy your life. It's not like that. We can enjoy small things in life. We can choose joy just by not doing anything for some period of time and just relishing our seclusion. We can enjoy sun bath on Sunday, just sitting under the sun for some time. We can enjoy uh, cooking some new recipes and enjoying the creativity. We can enjoy reading a book. We can enjoy giving a smile to somebody, a stranger. We can enjoy a cup of milk or coffee. There's so many things we can just enjoy and relish those positive emotions. Need to become aware of them, because many of us don't even know the language of positive emotions. Positive emotions are not just being happy, we have to be specific about them. If somebody says what is being happy, just happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. No, no, not just being happy. You can say I'm grateful, I'm joyful, I'm kind, I'm feeling kindness, I'm feeling more serenity, I'm feeling very hopeful, I'm taking pride in my achievements, not egoistic. I'm taking pride. I'm inspired, I feel loved. So these are the positive emotions which we need to nurture if we want to grow emotionally and mentally. And it's very easy. It's very easy. The easiest technique you can do is try to think of some wonderful events when you felt joyful in life. Try to think some wonderful events when somebody expressed gratitude to you. Remember those events. Try to remember some situations where people showed kindness to you or you showed kindness to somebody. Try to remember when you were content and why you are content right now, why you should be content right now, why you should be grateful right now. Have some gratitude journal and think how wonderful things you have, which many people other don't have. So we need to nurture and try to develop these positive emotions. Try to take pride in whatever achievements we have. So many subjects we have studied, so many books we have studied, so many uh, things we have done in life, like helping somebody, taking care of a parents, taking care of a child, or achieving some wonderful accomplishment like getting an award or getting a degree, getting a job, earning money. Inspiration. We feel inspired in some people's presence. So look for an opportunity when you get that inspiration by reading about it, by meeting those people. Love is such a wonderful thing. Love means just feel like giving yourself to your partner, to your friend, to your child, to your country. So what I'm saying is we need to appreciate these positive emotions when they knock our door. And throughout the day, throughout the week, they keep knocking our door many times, but we don't entertain them, we don't enhance them, and we don't nourish them. We just are too busy in running around with our life, or busy with the three cancers of mind: complaining, comparing, or criticizing, or fighting our useless mental battles by the going into the past or future. So my request to you in the end, please observe your mind, please observe your thought process and mental behavior, and then learn to bring your mind into the present. This exercise which I help you for 5 minutes, mindful breathing, it will help you to bring you into the present. There's so many other things which I shared with you, especially entertaining your positive emotions and not allowing your mind to go into the extreme negativity will help you to grow. So thank you so much. My time was up to 4 o'clock. And if anybody has anything to say, I'm happy to hear or ask. Few minutes are left.